represent the promise that Jews have kept following the horrific genocide that we all know as the Holocaust. After the murder of 6 million innocent Jews, Jewish people helped the world never forget what can happen when hatred runs rampant and unchecked. Jews never wanted to see the rise of anti-Semitism ever again. Unfortunately, this evil is resurging throughout the world and even here in America today. In 2018, the Anti-Defamation League recorded a shocking 1,879 anti-Semitic incidents in the United States alone. There were 1,066 incidents of harassment and 59 physical assaults on Jewish individuals, marking a 105% increase from the previous year. The total number of anti-Semitic attacks in 2018 was 99% more than it was in the year 2015. Often called the oldest hatred, anti-Semitism has persisted for millennia. For as long as there have been Jews, there have been those who hate them. This vile prejudice happened in ancient Egypt, the Greco-Roman period, and throughout medieval Europe. In my opinion, the most troubling aspect of today's rekindled anti-Semitism is its widespread nature. Today, we are seeing anti-Semitism emerge from both sides of the political spectrum by a multitude of ethnic groups. White supremacists have violently attacked multiple synagogues and have committed numerous acts of vandalism, while black nationalists have attacked Orthodox Jews on the streets of New York and a kosher supermarket in New Jersey. Jewish people have also been the targets of radical Islamic terrorists in Europe and the Middle East. Even members of Congress and leading social justice activists have expressed anti-Israel rhetoric containing anti-Semitic overtones. These expressions articulate some of the ugliest, long-held myths and conspiracies about Jews seeking to dominate the world, control the economy, and having suspicious dual loyalties. I was personally impacted by the deadliest domestic anti-Semitic attack in the history of the United States. It happened on October 27th, 2018, at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. It is the synagogue where my father grew up, became a bar mitzvah, and where my grandfather served as rabbi of the congregation for 35 years. I remember being in my synagogue in Aventura with my family that day, when one of our close friends ran into the sanctuary to inform my father, Rabbi Jonathan Berkun, that there was an active shooter in the synagogue where he grew up. We did not know whether my grandfather, Rabbi Alvin Berkun, was safe. My grandfather used to attend services at the Tree of Life Synagogue every week in retirement. What we didn't know at the time was that on that day, my grandmother fell ill and asked my grandfather to skip synagogue and stay home with her. That request saved my grandfather's life. Everyone who usually sits with my grandfather each week in the synagogue was murdered. A total of 11 people were killed that Saturday morning by a hateful anti-Semite who shouted, quote, "All Jews must die." After hearing the news of the shooting, my family and I were in shock. We cannot believe that such a crime would be perpetrated so close to home. That night, we sat and watched the news and tried to understand how this could happen today in our country. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that Jews would be targeted in the 21st century. I thought that I was living in a world where Jews could feel safe, but seeing my family suffer and mourn the loss of people that they'd call family showed me that I was wrong. After the event, I became afraid of following my religion, afraid of my identity, and afraid of what others might do to me if they knew that I was Jewish. The shooting shook my confidence in being able to embrace a full and secure Jewish identity in America. I found myself asking the same question over and over again: will Jews ever feel safe? And then I saw the front cover of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette a few days after the Tree of Life massacre. It featured a bold headline with Hebrew letters that spelled the beginning of the Jewish prayer of mourning, the Kaddish. Seeing an American newspaper with the Jewish prayer in Hebrew across the top had a profound impact on me. I realized that the entire city of Pittsburgh was united after the attack. I read that players from Pittsburgh's sports teams and thousands of caring citizens of all faiths and ethnicities attended the funerals and memorials of the 11 victims. Many wore shirts and held signs that said the city's new motto, "Stronger than hate." I saw an entire city in mourning, not just the Jews. I also saw synagogues across the nation, including my father's synagogue in Aventura, participate and show up for Shabbat. an event that called for Jews and their neighbors to attend services the weekend following the shooting and stand up against anti-Semitism. Seeing the city of Pittsburgh and Jewish communities across America come together filled me with hope. All of Pittsburgh stood up for the Jews because they saw the attack as an attack on their city, not just an attack on the Jewish population. The attackers' attempt to terrorize the Jewish community was met with the strength of an entire city, which exemplified the spirit of never again. The recent rise of anti-Semitism in America should not be recognized as a Jewish problem alone, but as a problem for the country. Wherever hatred of any kind happens, it can be fought when communities come together. Anti-Semitism is just a manifestation of the rising division and resentment in our world. If you ever come across any kind of hate towards any group, treat it as an attack on the foundation of society and not just an attack on that specific group. Together, we can fight against the perpetrators who try to weaken specific groups. And together, we can strengthen those affected by the attacks and make sure that everyone can feel safe to be themselves. Thank you.